Good morning, everybody. I'm just watching the number of participants joining. We're up to 27 at the moment, so we'll just give it a minute just to see if anyone else joins this morning. Slowly going up. Okay, we're up to 29, so I'll start the presentation and the webinar session now. Good morning again. My name is Joe Keegan. I'm the team leader for the skills brokerage team within the growth platform. And we're going to talk today about funding to support skills development for staff returning to work following lockdown. So you're very welcome to this webinar. This is the second webinar of our webinars that we're running all around funding skills and apprenticeships. We've got a number of speakers today, myself, my colleague Sue Ennis, my colleague Siobhan Grosskirth, and we've got Helen Wilson from the Combined Authority, who's going to talk about the Digital Skills for the Workplace project. I'm going to hand over to Sue, and Sue's going to take you through a number of slides on apprenticeships, traineeships and Kickstart. Over to you, Sue.
Yes, thank you and good morning. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. As Joe says, the focus really of this morning's webinar is to show you how we as a team at the Growth Platform can support you with accessing funding for, hopefully, as we move into a recovery period and start opening up a little bit more. There's a lot of opportunity to either take on new staff or to retrain and upskill current staff. So really, it's just to show you some of the pathways that we can help you access with funding to those pathways as well for training. So one of the first ones, if I look at, good mental health week as well. So so one of the first ones I want to look at is one that you're probably quite familiar with, apprenticeships, and probably some of you already have apprenticeships or are thinking of taking apprentices on. But just what I want to highlight is that the apprenticeships can be used to either take on new staff if you need them as you start opening up, or retrain and upskill the current staff that you have. And you can access up to 100% funding, depending on the age of the apprentice, to do this. And there are as well, through the government, additional grants to help you. So again, as a team, we can help you access this and walk you through the steps that you need to do. We can help you with free access for recruitment, so help you with accessing different platforms that you can put your vacancies on, help you put together a really good vacancy so that you attract the right candidates, and lots of advice around that. We can also help you access funds from other employers. What we have in the city region at the moment is a really, really proactive programme that we work with employers, levy paying employers, and they can transfer some of their levy, some of their money over to other employers to help you recruit apprentices, to help you start an apprenticeship programme if you're struggling with funds that way. So we can help you with that. We can talk you through the steps with that. We can help you liaise with other employers to do that. So that's something to make a note of and get back to us if you want any advice on that. We can also help with tailored access to training providers so that you get the right programme for your business. And by that, what we mean is you might think, yes, an apprenticeship sounds a really great way. I've got staff I want to put on an apprenticeship, or I want to take an apprentice on. But how do I do that? And where do I go? Who will deliver the training? What sort of apprenticeship standard or programme will it be? What do I need? So again, we can help you with all that. We can help you liaise with different training providers, whether that's in the city region or it has to be outside of the city region. And we can help you discuss different types of programmes, different types of apprenticeship standards that you might need for that training that you want to bring into your business and to help your business grow. And we can also help you access additional funds to train your apprentice, so for eligible employers. And one of my colleagues will discuss that on a later slide as well, just to highlight that there are additional funds over and above the apprenticeship that can help train the staff. And this is all free, impartial advice that we can help you with. If you get in touch with us, we can walk you through all these steps and help you speak to different people. So the next one, if we go on to it, please, Joe, is the traineeships as a way to access training. There you go. So a traineeship is a fully funded skills development program. So you can bring on a trainee into your business just on a work placement program. So it's not a job, but it is fully funded. So you don't have to pay for it. And you bring in a young person into your business on a trial basis just to work with you for a short period. They'll receive training from a training provider on a specialized program that fits your business. So whether it's hospitality, whether it's engineering, whatever your business is that you want to bring on, it will be a specialized program. There's no cost to you, as I say, as an employer, that's all covered. And you can progress a trainee onto an apprenticeship for further funding and to access further training. So if that trainee fits your business and they work really well with you, and they like what they're doing, they think that that's what they'd like to do as a career, then you can access the apprenticeship to access further funding and training for that person to bring them into the business. So as well as sort of trialing, if you like, it can be used as a recruitment program to bring somebody into your business and a trial period that they work with you. So as well as that, you're giving that young person exposure to a real workplace so they understand what they need to do in a real workplace. And you can help them develop the skills and bring the knowledge that they need through working with the training provider who provides a traineeship program. They gain the confidence, they get the new attitudes and behaviours that they need to succeed in your workplace. And we can help you again work with the training providers to make sure that the trainee that you're bringing in is the right one for your business. And we can help you with all of that as well. So if you want to move on to the next one, Joe, thank you. The next one that we're going to talk about is something that you may have heard quite a lot about lately, and that's Kickstart. So the Kickstart is a fully funded program. This provides funding to you as an employer to create a job for a 16 to 24-year-old who may already be claiming who is already claiming universal credit. This is really important at the moment because obviously the last year has been really tough for those who are leaving school to access, whether it's a shortage of apprenticeships, a shortage of jobs, they're not moving on to further education, or they have been in further education but now are on universal credit. So this will provide, and it doesn't matter the size of the employer, all employers of any size can access a Kickstart employee. It will provide 100% of the national minimum wage or the national living wage for that employee, for that Kickstarter. As long as you can provide them with 25 hours per week for a total of 6 months, that job, you can get associated employer national insurance support as well, and any relevant workplace pension contributions, so there's automatic enrolment. As well as that, you can receive additional funding to train that Kickstarter. So that Kickstart employee can come in with you and you can access additional funds to help train them into your job. So really, hopefully, as I say, I've just touched over very lightly on those 3 slides, pathways that we can help you access for funding to either bring in a new recruit or to help upskill the current staff that you have. And we can move that on to my next colleague, and I think it's Siobhan, or is it you, Joe, who's going to help?
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, no, that's fine. Just to mention as well, which I probably should have mentioned at the beginning, if anybody's got any questions, you can use the Q&A function here, and we'll try and answer your questions at the end of this webinar. If we don't get a chance to do that, we'll obviously send the link out anyway after this session. So we'll also respond to those questions that come up. Yeah, okay. It's me, Sue, it's me. So I'm going to talk to you today about the adult education budget. So you may or may not know that through the Combined Authority and through devolution, we have our own, within the Liverpool City region now, our own pot of money effectively for adult education budget, which is roughly £53 million. And it's all around innovation and flexibility to provide the skills that learners need to upskill them in whatever particular subject area they're looking at. It's available for those from 19 plus, so anybody over the age of 19. And as I mentioned, it's to provide them with skills and learning they need to equip them for work or an apprenticeship or other learning. Okay, so we've got a variety of different training providers and colleges that deliver the adult education budget across the city region. And we work with those providers and colleges to make sure that any employers coming to us through our skills brokerage team can be signposted to them if there's an adult education budget opportunity for funding. Okay. So typically fully funded, courses are fully funded for unemployed and low paid and are subsidised for other eligible learners. And you can see there I've mentioned English and maths provision up to and including level 2, and basic IT training is fully funded as well for those that need them as their first level 2 qualification. And also first level 3 skills for residents can in many cases be fully funded through adult education budget or the National Lifetime Guarantee. There's been a significant change in the past few months to adult education budget locally, and this is one of the benefits of devolution and the ability for us to be more flexible. It is now the fact that anybody who's looking for a level 2 qualification that is fundable under adult education budget, it can be fully funded. Okay, and this is in response to the pandemic. So it's essentially there now to support learners who've been furloughed or are in work. Okay, so initially there was some eligibility criteria around wage, low paid and unemployed. Currently, for the time being anyway, it's going to be fully funded at level 2 for anybody who wants an adult education budget qualification. Okay, there are literally thousands of qualifications that are funded through adult education budget. You could see a list of them if you wanted to, but that's going onto a database that is held by the SFA, the body that runs the adult education budget or funds the adult education budget. But the easiest thing to do would be to come to us and ask if any of the training that you're looking for could be fundable through adult education budget. Okay, anybody who's 19 to 23 and looking to gain their first full or first level 3 qualification, I should say, would be fully funded if they're 19 to 23 under adult education budget anyway. For learners who are 24 plus, there's now an opportunity for those to be fully funded through the National Skills Fund. So again, this is something new, you know, a change in policy nationally. And there are around 400 qualifications that the government's made available now for anybody over the age of 24 that can potentially be fully funded and can be funded in the city region. So as I mentioned earlier, the easiest thing to do is if you're interested in any training or skills, and as Sue mentioned earlier, you know, the easiest thing is to come to us, and there's a link at the end where we can show you where you register, and we would identify then whether any of that training was available to be fully funded through the adult education budget. I'm going to move on to my colleague Siobhan, and Siobhan is going to talk to you about other forms of funding that we have across the city region. Over to you, Siobhan.
Thanks, Joe. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our Be More programme. This is a £3 million pot of funding that we've got to support employers up to 70% of the costs towards training. The only eligibility criteria is that the employer is based within Liverpool City region, so either in the 6 local authority areas, and that the staff are actually employed. Okay, they can be self-employed, sole traders. Unfortunately, can't fund training for volunteers. They do have to be employed members of staff, and the workforce can be any size. So, you know, up to however many staff you've got, we can fund. We can fund bespoke training packages. Doesn't need to be accredited or a qualification, as Joe has just been speaking about. This can be a completely bespoke training package that we can get a training provider to build for you based on your needs and requirements. And as you can see, we've got lots of stuff we've already delivered, like HR, finance, languages, hair and beauty. There's a whole wealth of stuff that we can deliver because we source the training provider to deliver on your needs. If you've got relationships with training providers already, you can use them. We just bring them on board as a training provider. The only things we can't fund towards are your mandatory or statutory requirements. So anything that you are required to do legally as an employer, we can't fund towards. If it's upskilling of staff, then we definitely can. As Joe said, if you're interested in any of this, it's better to speak to a broker because we can go through this in much more detail, individual to yourselves. Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Siobhan. Okay, so there is another pot of money Siobhan mentioned there on top of, if you like, or can be can be used for employers. So instead of adult education budget, what we can't do is displace any other public funding with Be More. But again, as Siobhan says, and Sue and I said earlier, come to us and ask the questions and we'll identify the right funding route for the training that you're looking for. I'm going to hand over now to Helen, if this screen moves on. And Helen is from the Combined Authority and the Digital Skills for the Workplace team. Helen.
Hi, Helen. I'm really sorry, but we can't hear you. It must be something wrong. Does somebody else, do you want to run through it, Joe, perhaps?
Can you see that screen, Sue?
Yes. You
can. Okay. I'm just going to try and, the Q&A seems to have popped onto my screen and I can't get rid of it. So we're having some technical problems. Sorry, folks. We'll do what we can. Probably the easiest thing to do is just to mention quickly what the Digital Skills for the Workplace Fund is about. There is some information on the Combined Authority website, and obviously we'll send these slides out through a link later on. Clearly, you can see on this slide I'm putting up here that there's a number of programs that are funded through this particular project. It's funded through the Department for Education. But if anybody's got any queries or questions about it, you'll see that there's obviously there's the QA link here, or you can come back to us after the session and we'll put you in touch with Helen and Helen can talk you through it. Sorry about that, Helen. Let's see if we can move on. So you can see that clearly, we've talked right through the webinar this morning about the support that we offer. We do offer free support, advice, guidance, specialist advice, I should say, all around skills and apprenticeships. If you register with us, you will be linked to a skills broker, a dedicated skills broker who can take you right through the process of, identifying what your skills needs are and then picking up on, where best you can pick up funding for those skills needs, whether that be apprenticeship, traineeship, Kickstart, adult education budget, or Be More, which is a European funded project. So we can talk you right through all of the funded options, and we can then link you to an appropriate training provider, because as you can understand, different training providers deliver different types of training through different pots of funding. So, it is quite difficult to navigate that skills landscape and find the right training provider, the skills you need, for the skills you need, I should say. So there's lots of advice and support out there. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear from Helen, which is a real shame, but it is a great project, and it is available, as I understand it, at the moment, running through for the next couple of months, certainly. But again, Helen can talk you through that in more detail. We've got a link, as I mentioned earlier, to the registration page for the Skills Brokerage team. It is a very short registration that you would need to do. It would take you literally 20 seconds, if that, to complete. And what that does, it makes sure that we're picking up on everything that comes through in terms of an inquiry. We would have a detailed conversation with you, as I say. We would understand your skills needs. We'd identify the right funding routes for you. So, please go onto that page. There's a bit more information on the growth platform page as well. And I think, because we've cut this a little bit short with Helen, we couldn't hear Helen, we're just going to jump on to the Q&A. So we've got 3 questions at the moment. First one: hi, I have a business in Heswall, but our company is registered in Wales. We have another office. Would we qualify for any of these schemes if they were to work in Heswall? We'd have to identify first and foremost, I guess, whether Heswall is in the Liverpool City region. I've got a feeling it might be slightly outside. So we'll check that. We have a postcode checker that we can look at to make sure it's in the city region. It's not always clear cut. So if you were in the Liverpool City region, you had an office in the Liverpool City region and staff working in the city region, then you would be eligible for Be More. If you're in England, you're eligible for adult education budget and the apprenticeship funding that's available. If you're in Wales, then that's run through the Welsh Assembly. So it's different funding rules for Wales. So again, if you wanted to register with us, then we would talk you through that in a bit more detail and could pick up on those queries. Danny, morning Danny, we've got a question from you. Can you send the link to all fully funded level 3 courses? We can do that. It's something we need to pick up with our adult education budget team within the combined authority, and we need to ensure that we've got training providers in the city region who can deliver against those adult education budget level 3 courses that are fundable. Some questions that have come through, Susie says, which put in the chat and not here, was, is there a maximum age for the traineeships? Sue, do you want to answer that one?
Sorry, Joe. Yeah.
So, is there a maximum age for traineeships, and is the national minimum wage and living wage the same amount?
No, they're not the same amount, and that depends on age. And I think the maximum age for traineeships is up to 24, but I can double check that for you. If you want to pop your email address privately to me, I can send some information over, some more detailed information over, to make sure you've got all the right stuff. And then if you want to have a chat with me after that, you can do.
Thanks, Sue. Question here, can we get a copy of the recording? Thanks. Yes, you can. This recording is going to be available from the Growth Platform website. After the session today, we're going to send you an email with a link to the recording today. Another question, hi, can I double check that the level 2 is available for anyone? I think you're referring to the adult education budget slide that we had on level 2 and it being fully funded at the moment. So level 2 is available to anyone. As long as they meet the eligibility criteria, and standard eligibility criteria for funding is that you must be living in England, or you must have lived in living in England and either be obviously a resident of England or have lived in the EU prior to the 3 years prior to starting the programme. There's some eligibility criteria, but generally everybody over the age of 19 is eligible. We would obviously have a conversation with you about whether there was any potential for someone not to be eligible, just talking through those eligibility criteria. So it is from 19 plus up to any age. Just looking through any more questions. Can't see any more questions here. So I think that's about it from us. Okay, some more come through. Is Kickstart age restricted? Kickstart is 19 to 24, Sue? Yes,
it is, yes. And they have to be already claiming universal credit. There is another question that's come through as well about what's the criteria to take on a Kickstart, because they're aware that there was a business that was rejected and no reason was given. Again, if you want to pop your email address over to me privately in the chat, I can send you all that information to explain the criteria so we can check. I really wouldn't know why a business was rejected, depending on what the criteria they didn't meet there. But yeah, if you pop me your email over into the chat function, and I'll make sure that I send you some links through to look properly through all the criteria for the Kickstart.
Thanks, Sue.
That's great, thank you.
Sorry, Kickstart 16 to 24, Andy, thank you for that. Yeah, as I said, 19 to 24, getting confused with AUB. It is 16 to 24. We've got another question about mental health, and as mental health first aid is not statutory, is there any availability for it? Sue mentioned earlier, it is National Mental Health Week, so it's a good time to answer any questions about mental health training and to pick up on that. Certainly through the Be More project, we've had a number of employers funded for mental health training, and that's specifically where it's very bespoke training around mental health. So it might be 1 day or 2 day training that they're looking for, and not a qualification as such in terms of mental health. So that's something that we can fund through Be More, or part fund, I should say. Currently, there has to be some co-investment towards that.
We've got some really good mental health courses running, haven't we, at the moment, Joe?
Yeah.
Employers access. So there's mental health first aiders. So if you need an actual mental health first aider to operate in your company. And we've also, there's some really good courses around mental health working with young people. So you can either do mental health working with adults or with young people. So there's some really good courses, yes. So most certainly we can get you that information over.
Thanks, Sue. And just to mention, under the adult education budget as well, there are qualifications in mental health and mental health first aid, which are fundable. So again, it's identifying from you as an employer what your skills needs are, what type of training you're looking for, and then we can identify the best route for picking up on funding, whether it be adult education budget, which you say would be a qualification, or whether it's through Be More, where it's more of a bespoke training program. So yeah, obviously register with us and we can go through that with you. Just look and see if any more questions. I can't see any more coming through. So yeah, as I say, unfortunately, apologies, we couldn't hear from Helen, but please do get in touch if you're interested in the Digital Skills for the Workplace project. We will send a link to that when we send the email out as well. I think that will be useful for you to see. And obviously with a copy of this presentation that you can get to from the link as well. So thanks to all the speakers. We're just coming up to probably a minute short of 10:30. We do try and keep on time with these webinars, and we are going to hold a number of other webinars in the future. And so the easiest thing to do is keep a lookout on the Growth Platform website for those. We will be in touch with any new opportunities for webinars or ideas for webinars that we're going to pick up on as well. But as we've always said through this webinar session, register with us and you will be picking up on everything then that's available in terms of funding across the city region and any new webinars that we're going to run. Hopefully that's all good for you, and I'm going to close the webinar unless anyone's got any final questions. Can't see any coming through.
No, thank you.
Thanks everyone for speaking, all those speakers, and thanks everyone for joining, and we may see you on the next one.